Very warm welcome to each one of you here. Sunday morning, and people are here. I am really glad, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot from this session. You being here itself tells that you really care. You care for your kids, you care for their future, and you're willing to learn, reflect, and grow as a parent. Screen time. Today, we're going to talk about screen time, and this is not about your home, my home. This is a global concern. The use and abuse, or way to draw a line. We can't live with it, we can't live without it. Everything is on the screens today. And the point is that it's not about the focus or academics. ये सिर्फ बात यहाँ तक नहीं है कि बच्चों का फोकस जा रहा है, concentration जा रहा है, but it's also about mental health, sleep, emotional regulation, relationship, resilience. Every aspect of human life is affected. I'm so happy and honored to introduce our guest today, Mr. Sreedhar Mandyam, the founder director of Darwin Psychology Centre. He comes from a science background, but he chose psychology as very consciously. He chose it, and he's now running a full-fledged institution with lot of training programs in different domains of psychology. Thank you for your time, sir. And I'm going to invite you now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very warm welcome.
Thank you for having me here, and I'm glad to be participating in this parenting forum where we talk about these screen time issues here, right? So I would like to make this sessions as interactive as possible, right? So please feel free to unmute yourself and share your experience, your stories, your concerns, and your questions. And we'll stop in between to kind of get a feedback from you of how you're going, and is there anything that you're sitting with that we can kind of clarify for you, right? So let's make it as interactive as possible. So let me lay out what is the agenda for this 2 hours. What Dr. Rozina had told me earlier is that normally these sessions are only for 1 hour, 60 minutes, right? Just about 60 minutes, and in a podcast kind of a format. But this time we decided to change it because this topic needed an extensive thing. No, I could not have done justice to this topic in just 60 minutes. I would have left you with half knowledge or half kind of a thing. So I didn't want to do that. So I said, okay, let me do the whole 2 hours program with you and see how it goes. So here is what we're going to do in the next 2 hours. We're going to first look at what is the change in the digital landscape itself. And then we're going to take a look at the important difference between screen time usage and screen time. As parents, as adults around children, we are obsessed with screen time. I would rather you be obsessed with screen usage, and rather than screen time. So what is the difference? We'll take a look at that. And then we'll take a look at it that parents and adults are the mirrors for children. They kind of imitate what we do. So are you doing the right thing? Are you normalizing the right behavior for your own kids at home? So we'll take a look at that. We'll do a quick self-assessment for parents to see how good the digital landscape is there in their home itself. And then we'll look at the child's world, the digital reality part of it. Like Dr. Rozina said right in the beginning, it's something we can not do without, but it's also something that we need to have. So where do we draw the balance? Where do we draw the line? We'll take a look at that. And then one very important psychological aspect of this I would like to bring into today's session is, why do we struggle to stop this behavior? Right? Why is it that as adults or as children, we struggle to stop this behavior? Is it about character strength? Is it about willpower? Is it about determination? Or is there something bigger at play here, which is beyond our control? We'll take a look at that. And then we also look at this part, when do we actually have to worry? Just because my child is spending some time on the screen, should I start worrying about that? Or when is the time when I feel like, this has gone beyond acceptable limits? So we'll take a look at what are the red flags and when do we need to worry? And then we look at the solution part of it. How do we move from control to connection? Most of the parents are trying to control the events and it doesn't work. It backfires most of the time. Control almost always backfires. So can we move from control to connection itself? And then this important idea of a family digital agreement is there. Can a family have some kind of an agreement about all the digital uses at home so that the parents and the children are on the same page and everybody is adhering to some kind of an agreement. So we'll take a look at that. And of course, we'll take a look at counseling children if it is relevant here, or we'll wrap it up at the end of it. Right? This is what we're going to talk about today. So before we go here, I just wanted to ask you people, like we are here to look at the screen time challenges in children. And can I have a few more of you on videos, please? I would really love to see your faces. I mean, it's very disheartening to talk to black boxes, right? Please, can you switch on your videos? I'll wait for a minute or two. Lovely. Thank you, Sudha. Thank you, Damini. Thank you, Jyotika. Thank you, Amita. Thank you, Aparna. Can I have a few more of you? I'm not going to embarrass you with any questions, so please feel free to come on the video, right? Yeah. So I just wanted to check with you, while we are thinking that, children are spending a lot of screen time and addiction is there for children, how many of you think adults are also having the same problem? Right? How many of you think adults are also having the same problem? I mean, are the adults anyway different from children that we are not having? Oh, I am not addicted to my screen. I can stay away from my screen. Believe it or not, adults are equally having a problem here. And the number of people who are more addicted to screen, I would say, is the old age senior citizens. In my home, I've got my mother who is 84. And believe it or not, the one who spends the maximum time on the phone is her. Right? Not any of us. She spends the maximum time on phone. But then that's not a problem, right? That's not a problem because she doesn't have anything else to do. Right? We are thinking of children as a problem because there are a lot of other things they need to do and the screen time is taking away from them. If a senior citizen is sitting and looking at the screen time, maybe it's good for them because it keeps them connected, it keeps them occupied, it keeps them engaged. So we're not looking at that as a problem. Right? But if you actually look at most of the households, the senior citizens in the household spend a lot of time on screens rather than even the younger generation. Right? So that is something we need to acknowledge and understand. So let's take a look at the digital landscape that has changed. What I want you to understand is that some of us are digital migrants and some of us are digital natives. What do I mean by this? Digital migrants, and you have heard of this thing, of migrants, immigration, people coming from a different land to our land, we call them as immigrants. So many countries are having problems with immigrants, right? So what is a digital migrant and what's a digital native? This is how I look at it. People born before 1990, anybody who was born before 1990, believe it or not, they did not have screen time issues because there were no screens to kind of get addicted to, right? Many of me and my generation people, we are all digital migrants. We have lived in a land where there was no digital thing except for the TV, and that too not a smart TV, right? There was just a TV with, you have to sit and change the remote channels, a few channels you would get. So people born before 1990s or 1980s or even before that, they were all digital migrants. We have migrated from a non-digital landscape to a digital landscape. And we did not have issues as children, but as an adult, we are having issues, right? And why I want you to understand this is many parents go on telling the children, oh, we did not get addicted to screen time. We did not have an issue with screen time. But then you did not even have a screen time, right? You did not have a mobile phone. So why are you trying to make a virtue out of necessity? Right? So let us not take that moral high ground. In my days, we were not. I mean, this is how most of the parents start their conversation with children, isn't it? In my days, when I was your age, and then the child shuts off, saying, oh, you are living in an age of dinosaurs or something of that sort. So it's important to understand that, while we are digital migrants, the new generation born after 1990 and especially after 2012, they're all digital natives. They are born into an era where digital things were there around them, right? They were surrounded by screens, and especially the smartphones. They started coming in 2010, 2012, in that era when the smartphones started coming in, when we could kind of watch YouTube, or we could share screens to one another. Videos could be shared on the phone. All this started happening only 2010 and later. So if today you have got a child who is born in 2010 and he's 16 years old, he or she is a digital native, right? They are born with those things around them and they take it for granted, which is natural. Whatever is there, whatever we have been raised with, whatever we are born with, we take those things for being natural. What's the big deal about it, right? So this is something very important to understand. And then I wanted to become aware of this. This is not a guideline being given by me. It's a guideline being given by the Indian Pediatric Association. This is the highest medical body for dealing with children's issues, right? Indian Pediatric Association. And what have they said? They have said there should be zero screen time for children between 0 and 2 years. Zero, absolute zero, right? A child who is less than 2 years should not even be looking at a mobile phone. How how true is it in today's era? How many parents are following this, right? I have seen in many households, the moment that want to feed the child, put a screen in front of them, put a nursery rhyme in front of them, and then start feeding them, right? And the child gets adjusted to that idea that, whenever they want to eat, they want a screen, right? So it is important to understand that, we should expose a child to zero screen time between the age of 0 and 2. Until they are 2 years of time, they should not be viewing a television screen or a laptop or a phone, right? And then between 2 and 5 years, maximum time that should be allowed is 1 hour, and that also supervised. An adult should be sitting with them, guiding them of what to see, or together they're viewing the screen. This is what the Indian Pediatric Association says is permissible. Between the age of 5 and 10, less than 2 hours per day, right? Less than 2 hours per day. And only when they grow beyond 10, right? Beyond 10 or beyond 12, what we considered as the teenage time, they should be monitored for education and, most important, non-violent games. Are they willing to see we are permitting them to have the screen time, but only for some kind of an entertainment, for education, and for non-violent games? This is the guidelines from Indian Pediatric Association. Right. At the end of today's session, I'll be sharing a document with Dr. Rozina, which she can share with you, which is actually the entire guidelines of how to deal with screen time issues for both parents and for teachers. It's a very useful document to have. So I'll share that along at the end of today's session. Please, those who are really serious about whether you're working as a teacher, a counselor, or a parent, or an adult around a kid, it's important to know what the Indian Pediatric Association thinks and how should we guide them. So please take a look at it. I'll share it at the end of today's session. And then we look at, what are the concerns we have, right? One of the things that we really are bothered about is that 70% of the teens are exceeding the 4 to 5 hours limit. 70% of the teens, right? Irrespective of which area they are in, what language they are in, which kind of school they are in, 70% of the teens are spending 4 to 5 hours a day on screen time. And this is becoming a concern. Second, unsupervised time for younger children. This is a huge concern. The children are watching screens and the parents don't even know what they're watching. They could be watching something dangerous. They could be watching something pornography. They could be watching. They could be interacting with absolute strangers. So this is a huge concern of children having unsupervised time. And then screen watch time in the bed. This is another huge area of concern that, when they're going to sleep, they're going on watching the screen. And unfortunately, it emits blue light, which really affects your sleep cycle. It affects your chronological cycle. And it affects a lot of hormonal changes as you grow into the teenage world. And this is resulting in issues of sleep disorder, even in younger children. We always thought of sleep disorder only in older adults or, senior citizens. Oh, they are finding it difficult to sleep and all. Today, we are having a lot of children or teenagers coming with an issue of sleep disorder because they're watching screen in the bed. And another major concern for all of us is, are they becoming adults before their time? Right? We want children to be children. We don't want children to become adults at very quick age. So we are wondering, is this, when they're watching so much of screen time, does it mean that they're becoming adults at a faster pace? Right? So I would like to hear, other than this, what do you think are some of the other concerns that you have? Anybody can unmute and talk. What are your concerns here?
Sir, is it aggression seen more in children and the restlessness?
Yes,
That is
right?
also one of the main thing which we face in our school scenarios.
Absolutely, right? Dr. Indu is so right. The level of aggression has increased in children, right? The level of restlessness has increased, and the tolerance for frustration is just falling down. They cannot tolerate, they do not have the tolerance for frustration. Frustration means what? That you can't get what you want all the time, right? Are you willing to stay back and say, okay, I will not get it, it's all right, I can stay back? No, you don't, right? Dr. Aparna mentioned that not eating food without mobile, right? This is such a huge concern. Right in the beginning, I mentioned that, because the child has been given a mobile even before she is 2 years old. And for her, unless she sees those engrossed in that and eat, she is not able to eat. She does not want to eat. Every time they want to eat food, you have to give them a mobile phone. Right? This is a huge concern for many of the parents. Right? What are the concerns? Meenu says focus problem. Yes, right? Many children are finding it difficult to focus on things because what does the screen do? When you watch the reels, earlier YouTube and other places would have had long video sessions, right? Nowadays it has come down to 60 seconds. Right? Every 60 seconds you can change a reel, right? You can watch. So you want to change every 60 seconds, which means what? You have a problem of focusing, right? You can't focus on something for too long. The moment, forget children, we as adults, the moment we start a video, we look at it for 30 seconds and immediately go on to check how much more duration of that video is still left, isn't it? So focus is a huge problem, right? Missing physical activity and becoming obese, right? Sharifa says missing physical activity and becoming obese is a problem, right? Physical health gets affected, right? If a child is not physically active, it is leading to a lot of issues, right? So this is a problem, right? So what do we do? What do we do here? They are disconnected with family. They're disconnected with everything around the world. It is like, you're pushing a child into the mobile phone world. Let them stay in the world because it's easy for me to do the parenting part. But what's the long-term consequences of this? Right? They're unable to socialize. Yes, very true. Right? Socializing is a huge problem for many of the children. Any guests come home, earlier we kind of would go greet them, spend some time with them, chit chat with whoever guest has come and go. Today, children will just come and say hi and then vanish into their own world. Or even if they are socializing, everybody is socializing with a phone, right? So the phone has become the socializing aspect rather than real people, right?
Yeah,
So
so they have virtual friends than real friends.
there are more virtual friends than real friends. I mean, you look at people boasting of, oh, I've got 2,500 friends on Facebook. I've got 1 million Instagram followers. This has become the whole norm, right? And believe it or not, this issue of phone addiction has reached such a level. I was reading a recent article in the newspaper that in I think it was in Gujarat or Rajasthan, they are hiring bouncers, right? They're hiring security guards to go with their kids and be with their kids so that they're not looking into the phone. And the families are spending 50,000-60,000 rupees on security personnel to guard their children from picking up a phone and looking into it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that level we have already reached, and in such a short span of 15 to 20 years of having the mobile phone, right? The smartphone is not very old, right? And like I said, 2010, which is what, 16 years. In 16 years, we are having a huge psychological problem with kids, right? That we have to hire many of the families in Rajasthan and Gujarat, I heard they're hiring bouncers or security personnel to kind of go around with the children in 3 shifts so that they do not look into the phone part of it. It has reached that level of epidemic proportions, right? So it's a huge cause of concern for all of us. So while this is a cause of concern, then we look at this, an important distinction I want to bring in here, that most of the parents are obsessed with screen time. My child is spending 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, half a day, all the time he's on the phone, all the time she's on the phone, right? I just want us to start distinguishing between screen usage and screen time. So here are the 4 C's of screen usage. What do we actually use the screen for? The first C is consumption. Is your child using the screen time for consumption? Or even as an adult, whatever I'm talking today applies to children as well as adults. And it applies to me and you, right? We are not very apart from that, oh, I am not part of this ecosystem. I am part of this ecosystem. So I should be worried even look at my own life. Am I getting obsessed with my own phone? Right? So one of the things we need to distinguish is, am I using the phone only for consumption? Is your child using the phone only for consumption? What does consumption mean? It's passive. It's a passive work. You're looking at YouTube, you're looking at Netflix, you're binge watching, you're watching Insta Reels, just going on scrolling endlessly, looking at things, right? It's absolutely consumption. You're just using it for consuming things. So this is your first C. Is your child or yourself using the screen only for consumption? The second C is creation. Is the child using the screen time for creating things? Is she using it for coding work? Is she using it for digital artwork? Is she using Canva? Is she doing video editing work? Is she even making reels? Instead of just consuming things, is she also trying to put out something there? Right? So this is what we call as creation. So the screen time can be used for consumption. Screen time can be used for creation. So creation is better than consumption. You're actually putting your head into saying, oh, I want to create a video art for myself. So I'm using the screen to create a video art, or I'm creating something music I'm creating using the screen time. Is that a good thing? Of course, it's a good thing because it's a creative work. The third C that we use for is connection. Right? This is very obvious, right? For all the social connections, we're using WhatsApp, Snapchat, Facebook, Insta, multiplayer games. All these are being used for connection, which means we are interacting with some human being at the other end, which is even better than only consumption, right? You're at least connecting to somebody, you're chatting with somebody, you're talking to somebody, you're video sharing a call with your friend, with your relative. Again, absolutely nothing wrong with using screen for these things, because this has become a new way of connecting to people. Right? Earlier, we just had a phone, and once in a while, we would call somebody and talk to them. But today, we can instantly dial somebody and have a video chat with them. So, fair enough. You're especially using it for connection work, which is good. And the last C is for curation. You're using it for learning. You're going onto the Coursera, you're going to Khan Academy, or you're going into some education portals. You're checking out what courses to do next. Or your child is saying, oh, I'm finishing my 10th grade. What are my options? What education do I have? What courses do I have? He's exploring the information part of it for his own learning part of it. So when we look at all these things, where do we think is a problem? If your child is using your screen time for creating, for connecting, for curation, is it a problem anymore? Right? So I'm trying to bring a different perspective to all of you, right? Because we become obsessed with, oh, screen time, screen time, screen time, not screen time, screen usage, right? Focus on the screen usage. Because if your child is using it for creating something, right? She's creating music, she's creating art, she's creating a coding, she's creating a program, she's trying to develop a small application along with a friend of hers. All that needs a screen time, whether you're using a laptop, whether you're using a mobile phone, you use that. Your child is kind of busy talking to friends or interacting with friends on WhatsApp, Snapchat, or FB, Insta. Even the multiplayer games where people across cities now play on the same game, that is still also a way of connecting, right? You're chatting with somebody, you're connecting with somebody. At least some part of it is for connection. And especially if they're using it for their academics part of it, what is the problem? Because believe it or not, many schools today nowadays send many of the assignments on WhatsApp. Many of the things are shared on the school apps. That what is the session tomorrow, which teacher is absent tomorrow, what are the activities they have to bring in tomorrow. A lot of schools involve sending messages to children on the phone, or either their own phone or the parent's phone. Right? So if that is the thing, then where is the problem? Right? So I just want to pause here and take any questions that you have at the moment. Have I made the distinction something important to understand between screen time?
But sir, our concern should be the consumption bit.
Yes, right. So if there's overwhelming usage of the screen time only for consumption, now we have a problem, right? Yes, Indu.
Yeah, as you said, in a school scenario, the parents usually complain of you give lot of homework through the and connects and all those stuffs. So how can we convince the parents? Like as you said, it's not about consumption; it's a connection, curation, and creation.
Yeah,
So can we give any scenarios stating to the parents, telling that we are using this screen usage,
exactly.
not the screen time. So
Absolutely.
you gave the examples of all these things, but then too the parents will have their own things, sir. So can you just elaborate on those things where we can tell the parents, okay, somewhere they get convinced to that?
Yeah, what I would like you to do is I would like you to take these 4 C's to the parents.
Okay.
Right? Take these 4 C's to the parents. Tell the parents, that, we are not worried about the screen time. We are worried about the screen usage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If your child is using it for academic purposes, none of us should be having a problem because that's what every child is doing.
Mm.
I'll come to that in a bit. But what I'm saying is that, many parents, like I said, are obsessed with the screen time part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Can we make the parents aware that these are the 4 C's? So can you please monitor your kid of which of the 4 C's is your child spending more time in?
Okay.
If your child is spending more time in curating, creating, or connecting, then what exactly is the issue here?
Because they say usually we do send homeworks, Friday folders, and all those stuffs through Connect. There is a NPS Connect karke one app is there. We send it through that. So they say, being a school, you do send all these things to the that platform where the screen usage. I mean, the looking into the screen will be more. We usually upload homeworks and all those stuffs what you said.
Correct.
So at that point of time parents always end up asking us like, you only push the child to use lot of screen
I know.
time.
See, some
That's,
part of it is become inevitable, right? I
yeah.
don't know if you're sharing it directly to the child's phone number or the parent's phone number. If you're sharing it to the parent's phone number, which is what is the norm most of the time, because
Mm-hmm.
many schools do not permit phones in schools.
Yes.
Right? There are many schools which say no mobile phones in schools, right? As far as I know, no mobile phone in school is permitted, right? So if that is the thing, if you're just sending it to the parent's mobile, the parent can just read it out to the child or inform the child about what is there, right? Unless
Mm-hmm.
it's something that the child has to look into the phone to understand, then they can hand it over to the phone. And if that is a part of it, where is the problem with that? What is the
Mm.
problem with looking into a message which gives you information about your school progress or your school homework or something of that sort? How is that a problem?
Sure, sir, because they might they want to give their mobiles, no, they are losing their screen time, they may.
Exactly. Right? That is the problem. How can I give my child is going to use my phone for 20
True.
minutes? Now, how am I going to survive without the phone?
True,
Well,
sir.
it's a
True.
parent's problem. It's not a child's problem.
Yes, yes.
Can I
Thank
go
you
to
so
that?
much.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Hi, sir. It's me, Nafisa, and Amin joining in.
Yeah.
Just wanted to check. As you mentioned, the time slots for 0 to 2 as zero.
Yeah.
With these 3 C's, there are a lot of engagement activities also happen, or maybe 2 to 5, and as you mentioned. So, does this when they are engaging in other than consumption, w- this time still matters?
This time
This
still matters. It's the total time, whether you're doing consumption, that age, that pediatric association thing, what I gave, that is for consumption, curation, everything for that particular age.
Okay.
Right? And
Okay.
0 to 2, no screen time. Right? Don't start them now as a baby now to put on the screen and then give them the feed, or you say, okay, I have to do something. I want to shut up my baby because she's crying, so give her the thing and I can do my work. Right? The I want you to think that there's a long-term consequences for your actions. Right? In the short term, you might be avoiding the pain of having to sit with the child or mollycoddling the child or pampering the child. But in the long run, you're creating a problem for yourself. Right? So the pediatric association thing is all inclusive. All the 4 C's, that much of time. Not
Understood.
for
Thank
not for
you.
consumption alone. Yes, Dr. Aparna.
Sir, like you mentioned, there's no problem if they are creating something. But creation also includes like making reels and everything.
Yeah,
And then the child starts to get obsessed.
correct.
Like I know a few children who started with making few reels, and now until and unless they make reels and they get a certain number of likes, they are so obsessed with the phone uh, that it is like all the time phone de do, phone de do, phone de do. So I guess it is a very thin line to separate that obsession with creation and creation for something that is good.
Absolutely. See, when we look at that, yeah, children making reels and putting it up, it has become a real problem for many parents also. Right? So here, can we say that you can use the creation for creating reels only for this specific amount of time. Right? Within that, whatever is the time allotted to them, this much of time can go for creating reels. Right? Beyond that, either you are doing curation work or you're doing connecting work. No more. So we draw the line at that point. I'll come to that, how to do that part of it in a while.
And sir, with this, I would also like to say one thing, that even due to the monetary benefits that one gets on YouTube, Instagram, the parents are also pushing their children to
Exactly.
create reels and make certain videos. So
Absolutely. This
that
is
is also very
exactly,
disturbing.
yeah, this is exactly what I meant by saying, are we allowing the children to grow up too fast? I mean, there is an age to earn money and there's not an age to earn money, right? Earlier, we used to say that, child labor. Now, if a child is making reels and putting it on to earn money, why isn't that a child labor? Why can't we say that is child labor, no, that is coming in? Right? So this is a huge problem. I hope someday the government wakes up and says that, children younger than that can't be allowed to monetize anything on YouTube. Anything on
Very
Instagram should not be allowed to monetize. Actually, Karnataka government is the first state government in India which is bringing a law which says children less than 16 years will not be permitted on social media. Right? Karnataka government is making that law. It just last budget they passed the resolution saying that we will not be permitting children under 16 years of age to be on social media itself, which means like countries like Australia have already banned children from social media who are below 16 years of age. And Europe is going to do the same thing. Many of the countries are moving towards the idea because now we have realized what's the massive problem we have. Right? Zuckerberg and others will make millions, but it will mess up our kids. Right? They are not bothered. And they have
exactly.
made the program in such an addictive manner. I'll let you know the psychological aspect when I come to cover. I'll tell you why it has become so addictive for us. Yeah. Amita, go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. I'm Amita. I teach and I also counsel my students. My son is 17 years old, and I use Family Link Google app to control. So he's very good in studies. He gets 95 plus and all. Now he's in 10th. He says, "I do my work. I do my studies. I'm good at everything. What else you want?" Like, why are you trying to control,
Yeah.
but I find him most of the time, uske baad he goes to the TV screen. The screen has to be there
Yeah.
all the time. And his connectivity with his friends all are good, but a little aloof they stay. But I feel, is this Family Link app get some aggression in children or something? Using that app is okay?
No, we have to look into that. I have not looked into that particular app or what it does, but I'll come to a little bit of, what aggression comes from. Where is the red flag, right? Where should we really, if your son is doing everything else
Yeah,
wonderfully well,
yeah.
right?
No,
And
his question is, I'm good at everything. What else you
fair
want?
enough, right? So we can see, do we have to get worried or are we kind of overreacting to things? Because
Yeah.
parents
I
do tend
think
to
just
overreact.
adding to what Amita is saying, a lot of children are saying this, that what do you want? I'm doing everything that you want.
Fair
Now
enough.
let me do what I want. So this is a big question that I think most of the parents would have.
Absolutely. So we'll see the red flags. If the red flags are there, then we worry about it. If the red flags are not there, if the child is functional, if the child is functional in his work, whatever he needs to do, he's doing his responsibilities properly, and is also functional in his relationships, right? Then fair enough.
Yeah.
What are the other things we need to worry about? Yeah, Gauri, go ahead.
One more thing is, like, because of the Google
Good
info,
morning, sir.
too much
Thank
of
you.
overload,
Yeah.
too much of overload, they feel like everything on Google is right. Why
Yeah.
do you say? Why do you say the Google says this?
Yeah.
Like, Google Guru is, the best.
Absolutely. Google
When
has
we would
become the
get
new
all
God.
things, yeah,
Yeah.
from parents we would learn, but now it is like they learn from before us only. They will learn lot of and teach us.
Yeah. They know more than we do, right? At their age.
Yes.
Yeah. Gauri,
Yes.
go ahead.
Good morning, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gauri.
So you were mentioning about 0 to 2 years, no screen. So would you enlighten us with the group, the consequences if the child is allowed? So that gives the parents some kind of knowledge
Yeah.
not to do it,
See,
like be
when you
more
start
cautious.
this child at 0 to 2 itself on the screen, right? It begins to think that is an essential part of life. We can't live without it, right? Whether it is a feeding time, whether it is like the moment the child cries, you just give it the phone, right? I'm talking about the psychological aspects of it. The physical aspects of it are very different, right? A child of that age,
Sure, sir.
so much of blue light entering the child, it can harm the child's eyes, right? There can be, if a child at that age begins to have dry eyes and all, it's really a huge problem as they grow, right? And normally when we look at the screen, we have it just so close to it. We're not looking at a screen that at distance. And one reason why we also having a lot of kids with glasses, right? Younger and younger children wearing glasses is because they are not looking at distant things. They're always looking at things that is very close to them, right? It's always the screen, and the screen is just what, 1 feet away from you, right? Our eyes needed that, we look at the things that are near the horizon, we go out into the streets, we look at something that's a distance, then we look at something close by. Our muscular thing needed that exercise now for it to be healthy eyes, right? Today, I'm finding that younger and younger children are wearing glasses to read, right?
Yes.
This is the problem that comes up, right?
Yes.
Let me
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
So
for all.
yeah, sorry, there's a question in the chat box. It says, doesn't the screen light still affect the brain and eyes, regardless of the purpose of use? Like we have four C's, but in spite of those four C's, the screen light is going to harm them. So
Absolutely. See, the screen emits what we call as the blue light, right? All screens emit blue light. And one essential difference that what we used to read earlier and what we are reading today, I want you to understand. Our natural process is to read from reflected light, right? The light falls on the book and enters the eye. This is how we are. We see everything from reflection, right? The light falls on a piece of paper. Something is written on that. Only when the light falls on it, I can read it. But now what has happened to the screen? The screen, the light is coming from behind, right? We are not looking at reflected light anymore. We are looking at light source itself directly, right? That creates a problem with sleep cycle. That's why I'm saying that, you should shut off your all screens 2 hours before sleep time. If your child's screen time is 10 o'clock, shut off all systems, all screens by 7 or maximum by 8.
that's
Right?
such a big thing. So Sridhar, it's so, it's easier said than done because even parents are so hooked to the screens.
Absolutely. I mean, if parents are not role models, how do you expect a child to follow you? Right? So that's what I'm coming to next, of how do we look at the next part of it? What are the key questions to ask? In which C does my child spend more time? Very key question to ask, to understand, that is this a problem, not a problem? Which needs of this is being met? Right? Why are they spending screen time there? Is it because they want to learn something? Is it because they want to connect with people? Is it because they just want to get entertained and bored? Is that the reason? So we need to understand that every behavior of everybody in this world is to meet a need. Right? Anything that you do, it is to meet a need. Right? You just shift your stance into the chair that you're sitting because you become a little uncomfortable with that posture. So you just move around in the chair. You just go to the fridge to drink water because you're feeling thirsty. Every behavior of yours will meet a need. So if you want to understand somebody, you have to ask yourself what need of theirs is being met with this behavior. And the key question is, there's a balance across all the four C's. Yeah, they're doing consumption, but they're also doing creating. They're also kind of connecting to children and talking. They're also doing learning something using the phone. So if the balance is being met and if all the other things are being functional, why should we worry about it? Are we becoming obsessed about it? Right? And so much of argument, so much of bad blood at homes flow because of endless amount of arguments about screen time. Right? And here is the key assessment. As a parent, how good are you at understanding yourself? Are you being a role model here? So I'm going to give you 10 questions. Right? Yeah, before I go that, monkey see, monkey do. Right? This is how children learn. Right? They look at what the parent is doing and they're just imitating. Imitation is a form of learning for children. If you are a parent who is constantly looking at the screen, how do you expect your child not to look at the screen? If you are a parent who is looking at the screen even when your child is talking to you and you're responding to them, how do you expect them to have eye contact with you when they're talking to you? If you are a parent who is watching the screen when you're eating something, how do you expect a child not to do the same thing? So firstly, it's so important that are we good role models? Do we have a digital hygiene around us? Or are we so addicted to the phone that we want only our children not to be addicted to the phone? Then you can't expect your child to be not addicted to the phone. So what is your behavior? Right? What digital behavior are we normalizing for the child? If you're looking at the phone when you're eating, you're saying this is normal. This is what our household does. So the child will also do the same thing. If you're sleeping in the bed with the phone screen, the child says, dad is doing that, mom is doing that, so why can't I do that? So this is, you're normalizing your behavior. What behavior are you aware that what behavior am I normalizing for my child? The child begins to think this is normal. And if he goes to another house and he sees them not looking at the phone, thinks, "Arey, ye to kuch gadbad hai inke ghar mein." Right? They're all not looking at the phone when they're eating. Right? Something wrong with this species na, in this home. Right? This is how the child will begin to think. Yes, Jyotika.
Jyotika, do you
Yeah,
have?
yeah. Like you just said, monkey see, monkey do. And what we've started doing now is that when we are going out as a family for family dinners or family outings, it's a rule that none of us are going to be watching the phone. So we
Yes.
have made this as a rule now.
Wonderful. Right? That is what is needed, right? That we have some digital agreement that when we are eating, we will not have phones. Right? When we are sleeping, we are not going to have the phone. The phone is going to be charged in a different room, not in the place where you're sleeping. Right? You don't need that. And now I find that, recently the trend has become that many people are shifting to non-smartphones. Right? You remember that keyboard, Nokia keyboard phones that used to come right in the beginning, no screen, right? You just text, you just call, that's it. Right? So many people are consciously moving to a different scenario of non-smartphones. So I'm thinking that, many schools should do this. Yes, the kids can have phones, but that phone is non-digital, right? You can't connect to the internet, you can't watch a video, you can't do any reel and anything of that sort. It is basic phone which is meant for sending a text message or for calling and speaking. That's it, right? So exactly like what she said, what behavior are we normalizing? And when we go out for dinner and sit in a restaurant, if all of us are on the phone, why go out for dinner at all? Right? What behavior are we normalizing? Are we practicing what we are preaching our children? I want my child to do what I'm telling him to do, not what I'm doing. No, it doesn't work. The child will do what you're doing. He will not do what you're telling him to do. Right? Child will follow what you do. If you normalize not looking into the phone after 8 o'clock, if you normalize not having phone when you're having food, if you normalize not looking at the phone when you're talking to somebody else, right? You're normalizing respect. You're normalizing healthy behavior. Does it make sense? Right? So let's do a quick self-assessment. I'm going to give you 10 questions, right? Just score yourself on 1 to 5. 1 is never, 5 is always, and 2, 3, 4 are in between. Shall we do it? A quick assessment to see how I monitor my child's daily screen time. 5 is always, 1 is never, and 2, 3, 4 are in between. Give yourself a score. I'm not going to embarrass you by asking your score, so feel free to be honest with your score. I set clear rules, no screen time during meals. 1 never, 5 always. Third, I discuss online safety with my child. Important, right? How do you talk to strangers? What should you share? What should you not share? What kind of link should you click on the phone? What should you click? You should not click on the phone, right? How much information do you share? Even with your friends, how much information do you share? What kind of photographs do you share? Right? Screen interferes with household chores and homework. 1 never, 5 always. Fifth question. I notice behavioral changes post screen. Once the screen time is over, do I notice changes in my child? Sixth question. Family discussion includes digital detox ideas. Like she said earlier, whenever we are going out, no screen. We don't look at the screen. That's a digital detox for 2 hours. Okay, excellent. Right? On one day in a week, we don't look into the phone at all. What's a big deal? If something important emergency comes in, we can look into it. Right? We stay away phone for one whole day. We stay away phone for one whole week. Right? We are going on a vacation. Nobody needs a phone except one phone for the family. Can we have digital detox ideas? Even keeping your phone away when you're having dinner is a digital detox idea. I track my digital usage using apps. Like Amita said, I use Google to see, I check, do I do that? Yes, you're doing something which is important. Cultural events reduce screen time in my home. right? Any cultural event, you got social gathering, you got guests, you're going for a wedding. Does it reduce screen time? I don't look at the phone when my children are talking to me. So important. Many parents I've seen, the children are talking to them, they're also looking at the phone and say, you tell, I'm listening to you. No, the child feels unheard, the child feels unseen, the child feels like whatever I'm going to say is not important. Whatever is in the phone is important. So phone is always more important than people around me. That's what you're teaching your child. Last question. I don't have notifications on my phone. I don't get ping every time somebody posts a message on Facebook, somebody comes on WhatsApp. No notifications. Which means what? I control when I want to look at the phone. The phone doesn't control me. The moment you have notifications on your phone, the phone is controlling you, because you cannot resist that ping. Once the ping comes, you think, no, I have dropped to everything and have to look at the phone. And the moment the phone rings, I have to run to pick up the phone. Why? There's always a missed call, right? You can call them back. Why do you have to run to pick up the phone? Earlier time, I could imagine when we had a landline calls, we did not know who was calling. So if somebody called and we didn't pick the phone, we lost that. Today, if somebody calls, you can always call them back. So what's the big deal? Why do you have to run to pick up the phone? I mean, I've seen people doing something in the kitchen and then the phone rings in the bedroom, leave everything in the kitchen and dash to the bedroom and stand there for half an hour and talk. And then all the milk is boiled, all the dal is overcooked, right? Everything is spilled all over the kitchen. And then you come back and spend another hour cleaning. What did you achieve? Right? How true is that, right? That you run to pick up a phone when you know there's a missed call. Arey yaar, kar lenge na, 5 minutes ke baad we'll call them back. What's the big deal? Right? So turning off notifications is an important idea. So just add your score for the 10 questions. Right? Add your score for all the 10 questions. And here is the thing. If you are scoring above 35, you've got very good awareness of digital hygiene. You've got very good idea of digital wellness, and you're managing things very well at home. If you're between 20 and 35, you're moderately aware of what needs to be done. A little bit of work is all that is needed for you to cross the threshold of having digital wellness at home. But if your score is 20 and below, then there's a high risk at your home and you need assistance and support to kind of climb that hill of digital wellness. Have I made sense so far? Right? Is there anything anybody is sitting with any questions?
People
Can I
are very
share?
happy. People are happy with all the scoring and self-assessment basically to see where they are.
Oh, good to
Yep.
see Aparna on 28. That's excellent. Right?
Hi, Sreedhar. Great session. I'm enjoying it thoroughly. I
Thank you
just
so
wanted
much.
to share, since there are so many parents over here, counselors, teachers, and so on, I just wanted to share something that I learned from a parent. The parent, the child, 10, 12 years old, wanted a phone. So they had a discussion. The parent says, okay, why do you want a phone? Now the child doesn't say social media and all those things. The child says, I want to connect with my friends. And I found what the mother said was really very nice. She said, we have a landline at home. You can call them, they can call you, you can connect with them. So I thought that was a very brilliant idea. So I wanted to share that with everybody.
We are going to go back there, Renu. We are going to go back to the landline sooner than before, right? We're going to go back there where you call, you just talk, right? So we're going to go back there. And I know there are parents. I mean, it's not like all parents now are not conscious of this. Like many of you have scored 28, 26 and all, which is fantastic. There are parents who have told their kids, you grow up to 18, I'll give you the phone. Until then, you can use my phone for half an hour every day. Between this and this time, you call, you talk to your friends, you want to play games, you want to look into YouTube, Reels, whatever. Half an hour, I'll give you the phone, but you do not have a phone of your own. Children don't need phone of their own. Right? That's an important idea to keep in mind. The parents can share their phone, saying that half an hour, I'll give you. You look at it from this time to this time every day. So there's a rigid rule. Expectations are being set. Many things can be managed if expectations are set very clearly for children. This is what you will get. This is what you will not get. Disappointment, frustrations comes when expectations are vague. One day you will give them for 2 hours, another day you'll say, too much of phone time today, no phone time, you're banning them from phone. No, it doesn't work, right? So let's go ahead.
Thank you, Renu ma'am. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge. I think that in itself gives a big message to parents, and even Gen Zs are going for non-smartphones. So, Renu ma'am, thank you for your uh, experience that you
Thank you.
shared here.
Thank you.
Jyotika, go ahead.
I just wanted to take off from where Renu ma'am just said. And you also just said that giving phones to these kids at an early age, let's say till they reach the age of 18 is not necessary. But don't you think, sir, they're going to feel out of place because most kids are on social media, they're on WhatsApp chats, they form their own school ka chat groups. So I mean, could you just elaborate on that? Then the kids, if they don't have phone before
Yeah.
18, wouldn't they be like, so
Maybe
the
when
black
I
sheep of
said
the group?
18, when I said 18, I'm putting it at a very high level,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So bring it down, bring it down appropriately into your own household. Now, what are the other kids doing of your school age, right? So look into what is the appropriate. Every rule that we talk of has to be in a context, right?
So
All the rules
understand,
are
sure.
meant to be
Yeah.
applied in a context. We do not apply rules out of context. When I say 18, I'm saying how nice it would be if we can hold it back. Obviously, we can't hold it back till that age. So
But
can we
18,
say,
18
okay,
is too much. Yes, exactly.
we grade them, as they grow older, we give them more time, right? As they grow older, then we can maybe at 16, we can say you can have a phone, right? Before 16, you can have a non-smartphone, but after 16, you can have a smartphone, then with a limited usage. And once they are 18 and above, we just can't control them at all, right? So we go
So,
grading as a parent, Essentially, what I want you to understand is as a parent, in the beginning, when the child is young, you are the principal, right? You're having a stick in your hand and saying, do this, don't do this is good, that is not good, because the child can't use his own mind to know what is good and what is bad. As a child grows older, as he becomes a teenager, you have to graduate from being a principal to being a coach, right? You can't be a principal now with a stick in your hand for a teenager. He's not going to listen to you. She's not going to listen to you, right? So you become a coach. You kind of have a more of a conversation with them, collaboration with them to see what needs to be done. So here is the digital reality of understanding a child. Which of the four C's my child is spending more time in? What do they watch? When do they watch it? Understand this, right? When do they watch it? Do they watch it before school, homework, night time? So that you know the pattern and what needs to be done about it. What is my explanation for their behavior? How do you explain their behavior to yourself? What is your explanation for their behavior? Right? How does it make them feel post-screen? Like I said, post-screen is important. When you take away the screen from them, how do they manage it? It's such an important idea to understand. Are they behaving differently from their peers? This is another very important idea I want to understand. If all the children in the school are behaving the same way, then what do we do? Right? If all the children are having the same thing, that has become a normal in that school. Right? If in the school everybody is saying that, they've got to be like she said, like Jyotika said, if all the children of that age, let us say 15 years of age, they are spending 3 hours, 4 hours on screen time. That's become a norm. So how much away from the norm can I keep my kids from? Right? Because my child also needs to belong. Right? The child needs to belong to its group. If the child says that, in my phone, no phones at all, until I'm 18, then he gets ostracized. He does not belong to groups. Right? It's also important as the child grows older that they need to belong to groups. That's where their identity gets formed. So I can't take away the child entirely the moment he comes into the teens. So are they behaving very differently from their peers? If other children are also behaving in the same ways, then I have to say this is a real worry about their behavior. Right? Instead of just focusing on the screen time or screen usage, can I understand what is my real worry? Is my real worry about their physical health? Is my real worry about their socializing? Is my real worry about that they're not eating properly? What is my real worry? Right? Instead of addressing the real worry, you're looking at the symptom and saying that symptom has to be cured. Symptoms can be cured. What is the root cause? Right? That needs to be understood. So why do we struggle to stop the behavior? So here I come to the psychological aspects of it. Why is it that we can't stop this behavior? Is it about willpower? Is it about determination? Is it your character, the strength of your character? Is that the reason why you can't stop your behavior? So can I hear some ideas of what do you think is the reason why we can't stop this behavior, which is so addictive for not only children, for also adults? In your experience, why is that we're not able to stop this behavior? How many times you might have told yourself, from tomorrow, I will stop this behavior, right? Why is it that you're not able to stop the behavior? Let me hear from some of you here.
Sir, it is the willpower of a person who is actually, even the parent, I mean, goes on and on looking at the reels one after the other. And it's a kind of an addiction that a parent is already in.
Yeah.
So it is willpower and addiction, which is actually playing its role. And, the parents can't stop themselves.
Absolutely. Pami says it's about the willpower. It's about the lack of willpower in us that is making us not able to stop it. Okay, let me come to that point again. Dr. Indu, go ahead.
Yeah, it could be because of like which has become a habit, and habit breaking is very difficult.
Right? Habit breaking is very difficult. We make some habits. That habit, to change that habit, is extraordinarily difficult because it has become a part of your subconscious routine. Right? The moment you get up, you will brush your teeth with your not dominant hand. Right? You don't think, oh, today I'll brush my teeth with my non-dominant hand. Try brushing your teeth with non-dominant hand and you'll struggle for it. Right? So that's another thing that, it has become a habit. Jyotika?
Yep. Somebody had mentioned dopamine, so it gives that adrenaline rush to us that, oh, aaj humne ye nahi kiya, we're missing out on something in life there. So
Absolutely. Right?
it hits on us then.
Right? So if it's a dopamine hit, is it in my control? Right?
No.
If I want to get
No,
the dopamine hit, I need the dopamine hit, right? So is it
yes,
in my control?
it's in our blood. हमारे खून में आ गया है.
Right? So what I want you to understand is that, it is gone beyond things like willpower, habit, and all. No, it is not in our control, right? The idea of this kind of addictions is not in our control. And why does it happen? Once you understand the reasons, then you'll know how to stop it, right? Firstly, it is about the dopamine hijack, right? Dopamine is a chemical that is released when you're expecting something nice to happen, right? It is not a reward for something nice already happened. It's an expectation chemical, which means like, the next reel will be good. The next reel will be good. If I see 4 reels and charo pasand nahi aaya, but 5th one could be good. So my expectation, when I am building up my expectation, my dopamine gets hit, right? How many times have you experienced this? That all the planning that you do for a vacation and the excitement is there, but vacation hone ke baad, अरे ठीक था, but the planning part of it, the expectation part of it was so thrilling. Whereas actually when the event happened, ठीक है, it was good, but not as great as the expectation part of it. Right? So expectation always increases the happiness for us rather than the real event itself happening. Right? This is something we need to understand. So what is it? This expectation gets built into these reels, built into the Facebook thing, that if I put a new post, I'll get 10 more people liking it. If I put a 10, I'll get another 100 followers following me. So that expectation building up is a part of how these apps have been very cleverly designed by these people, very crookedly designed by these people to exploit a human weakness. It is not in your control. Dopamine hijack is not in your control. And the problem is with the off switch. The problem is with the off switch. What do I mean by that? I'll just give you an analogy for this. When you feel hungry, when is it that you feel hungry? When there's a protein called ghrelin that is released into your bloodstream, right? When a protein called ghrelin is released into your bloodstream, that's when you feel, oh, I have to eat something, right? Because your sugar levels in the blood is coming down, ghrelin gets released and you feel, now I have to eat something. But when you eat something, when it reaches a certain level, then another chemical called leptin is released, right? When the leptin is released, you feel full. You feel, Abhi, enough. I don't want to eat more because I feel the feeling of fullness is not psychological. The feeling of fullness is chemical. But there's a chemical which sends a signal to the brain that stop eating because your stomach is full. You don't need more food, right? So in this addiction part of screen time, the on switch comes very easily, right? It is the off switch that's a problem. For people who suffer from lack of leptin in their body's physiology, they don't know when to stop eating. Right? They're not able to stop eating because that chemical is not being released. Right? They're going on eating, they're putting on weight, they're becoming obese now because they're just not able to stop eating. And we think it is a willpower problem. We think it's a determination problem. We think it's a character flaw in that person is not able to stop eating. It's easy to judge, right? It's so easy to judge from outside, saying that no, obese, बहुत खारा होगा इसलिए मोटा हो गया, right? We blame that person for being obese because we think it is in his control to do it. It is not. Suppose that leptin is not working for him. It's just not. He just doesn't know when to stop. He just goes on eating because there's no cue which says stop eating. Right? So this is the problem with even screen addictions. We do not know when to stop. We start and then we do not know when to stop. And the third most important idea is what is called as the Zeigarnik effect. Right? Doom scrolling and bottomless feed. Zeigarnik effect has come from a psychologist called Zeigarnik, who was looking at the waiters in a restaurant, and he said, the waiters seem to remember all the non-fulfilled orders. If you ask him, what did that guy eat and go? I don't remember. Right? What is that guy still ordered? I remember that. Right? So what is important idea from this Zeigarnik effect that I have gathered is that unfulfilled tasks leave us restless. Right? We want to know the end of everything. Right? You watch a screen, let us say you watch a what do you call that, screen serial, right? If you've seen how the serials are very cleverly designed, in the end of the serial they leave you a hook and you're like, I need to watch the next one. What happened to that guy? He was standing on the edge of the hill and somebody came to push him and then they stopped it at that point. Did he push him? Did he survive? Did he escape from that thing? Or somebody fell into a pit and there was absolutely no human being around them and there's no way to come out. Oh my God, how is he going to come out? How can I not see how he's going to come out? I need to see a closure, right? We need to see the end at the end of a movie. Our desperate need is for seeing end of things. When we don't see the end of things, we do not know how to stop, right? And this thing has been very much exploited by all the social media platforms. Earlier, I don't know if you remember in the 90s and early 2000s when the websites came, right? They would always have a pagination at the end of it. They'll say page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, it will go. So you come to the bottom of the page is over, right? You have to click page 2 to go to the next page, right? You have to click the next to go to the next feed in the Facebook. But now what has happened? Very meticulously, all the social media feeds have removed pagination. That's why it's called a bottomless feed. Doom scrolling. You can go on scrolling. Where does it end? If it doesn't end, how can I stop? Right? So do you look at how your mind is being manipulated by our need for ends? If we don't have an end, we just go on doing it until we get bored or until something else calls us up. We don't know how to end. You're reading a book. When you're reading a book, what's the thing? I'll just finish this chapter and stop. There's an end to it. I'll finish this one more page, 2 more pages, I'll stop. Even though it's a thriller, it's whatever it is, you're reading it, you'll say, okay, I'll stop it at the end of this chapter. I'll stop it at the end of 10 pages, and then I'll go and do other work. There's an end to it, right? In modern day social media network, there's no end to it, right? Bottomless feed, doom scrolling. This is not in your hands, and it is not your personality fault. They've just exploited the mental loophole that we have. So how do we counter this? We counter this by putting the end in our mind. The moment I start doom scrolling, I also do that, right? Sometimes I also feel like, oh, I just want to scroll. What is that? I quickly put a timer there saying 20 minutes, right? I put a timer there and then start the doom scrolling part. And I go 20 minutes, I go, and then it's done. The alarm rings, I'm done with the job. So unless we put the end, we say this is the end. I'm going to do it for 10 minutes. Only when I'm doing the walking for 10 minutes in the park, I'm going to do the doom scrolling. Otherwise, I'm not. So you need to put an end. If you think that, some willpower will come in, it is a lack of your willpower. No, it is not. None of us have that kind of a willpower that can counter the need for the end part of it. Am I making sense here? Because it's a very important discovery now about why we do doom scrolling. You don't find it in any book, right? It comes from personal observation that unless we can find an end, we don't stop. We need a closure. It's over. Right? We need to see the end. I mean, many of the movies that end very ambiguously. Was he Was it dead? Was he alive? I don't like that kind of a movie, because it left me kind of feeling very weird, saying, oh, this is not nice. I didn't like this kind of a movie at all. Right? So why? Because the end is ambiguous. End is unclear. I want a clear end. For us, everything has to end. Right? Only then we feel I can move away from this, because it is ended. Jyotika, go ahead.
Can we, before Jyotika, give me a second. Can we have some thumbs up, some reactions of hearts and thumbs up, so that we know that you are very much here and you are with us on this entire discussion? Some hearts, some thumbs ups. All of you, please. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jyotika, over to you.
Yeah. I'd like to share my personal experience regarding this. Like Sir said, there's doom scrolling, which I often get into when I'm cooking. There's somebody I need to send a message to. And then I sit scrolling my WhatsApp, and then I land up in my bhaji gets burnt. I mean, there's like, there's not an end to it. There's no end to scrolling. I sit down with my phone saying, Acha, I just need to send an immediate important message to somebody. And then that somebody come message, I land up, my bhaji gets burnt in the end.
Yeah, absolutely right. This is why I'm saying, no, without that end in our head, we are not in control of it. Right? These things have been very cleverly written. These social media apps have been very cleverly written to exploit our human weakness as a person, that I need the end part of it. Right? So we need to put an end to it and say, I am going to put an end to this. Timing is my end. I'm going to put a timer and then watch. Right? Without a timer, I'm not going to do anything. Look at everything. Does everything, other activities have an end to it? Our sleep has an end to it. Our cooking has an end to it. Our bathing has an end to it. We know that when we have finished this, our bathing is over, my brushing is over. Every activity has an end to it, except scrolling part. It goes on for hours together, and everything else gets back on the back burner. Right? So it's important to understand this, that it is not in my control, but I need to bring it. I need to be smarter than the apps. I need to be smarter than Zuckerberg to say, I will overcome Zuckerberg and be smarter than him to create my own stopping the whole thing. Make sense? Let's move ahead then. Okay, so this is the impact on development. Many children have low tolerance for boredom. Attention span is drastically dropping down, right? Very difficult for them to look at anything beyond 20-30 minutes. And sleep cycle is getting affected. And I want you to understand that, sleep is an extremely important component in our physical and mental health. Sleep is an extremely important component. If a person is not getting adequate sleep, their physical health goes for a toss, their mental health goes for a toss. They are somebody who has become irritable, angry, short-tempered, everything comes in because their sleep is not adequate. And for many children, if they have got phone on their bed, their sleep cycle is definitely going to be affected, because they're going to sleep at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night, and the next day morning they're going to get up at 8 o'clock and run to the college. Where is the teen getting enough sleep? And here are the red flags. When do we worry? Secret is the acronym for this, right? Sleep disruption. Is your child suffering from sleep disruption because of the phone? That's your first red flag. Is there an emotional dysregulation? Is there a rage when disrupted? Is the child becoming extremely angry now when you disrupt him when he's on the phone? Is there a cessation of all offline hobbies? Earlier, my child was going out to play tennis, badminton, swimming, skating, whatever he used to play out. Now all the offline hobbies are off. The child wants to spend only time doing online hobbies. Rejection of family and friends. Is my child rejecting family and friends? Is there an excessive secrecy around what he or she is doing? This is a red flag. They don't want to tell you what they're doing. They don't want to tell you anything at all about what they're doing on the screen. If excessive secrecy is beginning to build up, that's a red flag. And there are huge amount of withdrawal now when the phone is not there. Not even you have not taken away the phone from them. The phone has just stopped working. The moment the phone stops working, is a child throwing a huge tantrum saying, oh, my charger is not working. Where is my charger? There's a desperation. There's a panic around, the phone. These are the red flags. When any of these come in, then you have to say that, it's time for me to worry about what's happening and take professional help or whatever that's needed for. So how do we move from here? We should move from control to connection. Most parents think controlling is the way to handle screen addiction, and they have tried and they have failed. Right? Most of the people who try control have failed when it comes to handling screen addictions. What does it do? What does control do? Why does control not work? Basically, when we look at it, surprise bans, right? When you surprisingly ban, oh, from today onwards, you're not going to have the phone, right? There's a surprise ban. There's no talk. There's nothing. Suddenly, you kind of become, you have attended a workshop like mine, and today you go back home and say, from today, no phone at this. That's a surprise ban. It brings up resentment. It brings up secrecy. It brings up withdrawal from the child. It doesn't help. That kind of a control doesn't help. Lecturing and shaming, right? Lecturing them, trying to shame them. It causes shame. They become defensive about the whole thing. Again, this doesn't work. Using device as a reward and punishment, right? When you use phone as a reward and punishment, the child begins to think this is very important for my parents itself, right? They're using this means this is very important, which means it's actually important, right? Or inconsistent rules. One day you're flexible, another day you're punishing them, the next day you're saying it's all right, you do whatever you want, I don't care, right? Another day you're bringing in strict rules. So when you try to control, it just escalates the conflict. It erodes trust in you as a person, and you're only trying to manage the symptoms. You're not addressing the root causes. So suppose we move from connection. What works in a connection? Connection is understand them, understand their needs, why they do it, and do validate wherever possible. Like I said, all screen time is not bad. So when you see your child is using the screen time to learn something, you say, oh, you learned something, wonderful. I'm really glad to see you using the screen time for something good. So validate them also, no? Which parent validates a screen time usage of your child? They think all screen time is bad, right? But suppose you actually see your child is using the screen time, he comes back and says, hey, today I learned coding, how to do coding part of it. Or today I created this digital art. Look at how I created this digital art. He or she is showing you how they created a digital art or music, and you're blaming them for using the phone. What purpose are you serving? Right? You're not looking at the usage of the phone. You're just looking at the obsessed with the time part of it. So understand them, understand their needs, and do validate wherever possible. Right? If they're doing the screen for a good cause, tell them, I'm glad I saw you call grandmother and talk to her today. I'm so glad you're using the phone for something good. Right? You're promoting good behavior. Whenever you praise good behavior from a child, it reinforces that behavior. When they complete X, then you can use screen time for Y. Can we have something like this? Right? You complete your homework, then you can have half an hour of screen time. You complete this task, you go and talk to grandmother for 1 hour in her home and come back, and then I'll give you can use it as a reward in this way, as an XY. Because you're also promoting other good things, then this reward is there. Right? You're modeling. This I dealt with it earlier, right? What do you normalize as a child? What behavior are you normalizing for the child? Yes, Gauri.
So
Gauri,
when we say that when you complete this X and you get Y time, so it comes like under this where we are giving them using device as a reward, right?
yeah,
Like
basically what I'm
initially,
saying is screen time is a reward, not the device itself. I'm not saying that, if you do this, I'll buy you a phone. Right?
Mhm.
Don't go there. But when you want to regulate screen time, because screen time can't be totally moved away from the child. Right? So can we also get to do them? Can we tell them, look, you go out and play for 1 hour. Right? You go out into the park or the playground, you play for 1 hour physically and come back, half an hour of screen time.
Okay.
Right? We are using the screen time for doing something outside the screen work, like a physical play, like going and meeting somebody,
Yes.
and right, which is really what we want the children to. That's our actual concern. That's an actual
Yes.
concern. He is not socializing, he's not being physically active. So if I tell my child, that you go physically play out for 1 hour, sweat it out, you play football, cricket, whatever you play out, then you can have half an hour of screen time. Then actually I'm promoting him the physical part of it too.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, thanks.
So parental modeling, and then involving them in creating the family digital agreement, right? I'll just come to that family digital agreement in a part, right? And then addressing the underlying need of boredom and loneliness. If your child is bored or your child is lonely, is that a need to be addressed? Is that a legitimate need of the child that I'm feeling lonely? So can you spend time with your child? Can you say, oh, look, why don't we sit and play a chess? Why don't we sit and play a board game? Earlier, we used to have a lot of board games. Every family had its own board game, right? Either the family would sit around a carom board, it would sit around a ludo, or it would sit around a snake and ladder. Some board games were there in all families. We grew up around board games. They were very good for bonding, right? Board games are excellent for bonding, excellent for teaching so many things, leadership skills, teamwork, so many things were there. So if a child is bored, can you say, how do I address the boredom along with the child? Shall we go for a concert? Shall we go for a movie? Shall we do something together? So if the parent starts involving themselves together with the child, can we address the boredom? Instead of saying, oh, you're bored, here, take the phone. What are we doing? Every time you're bored, you can take the phone. That's the only solution we have. Right? So when you work with connection instead of control, it builds trusts, it teaches intrinsic motivation for the child, and we are doing a lasting change. We're not putting a bandage on cancer. Right? We are doing something deeper. We're saying this is deep, I'll address the root cause of the things. Right? So you're going for a lasting change instead of a temporary solutions.
So there is a comment in the chat box which I would like to read here.
Yeah.
All this works with child below teenage because for teenagers it's getting very difficult for us to separate them from mobile and TV.
Totally understand that. See, when we're talking of addiction with children, when we're looking at younger children, if you have been able to impose these rules when they're young, then it's easy to impose the rules when they're adults. We can at least negotiate with them. But if you have not done that, today you're directly dealing with a teenage child, the only thing that you can do with a teenager is negotiate. Control doesn't work with kids. And especially the moment they come to the teenage level, control just doesn't work. Right? You need to understand the teenage mind. A teenage mind is a rebellious mind. Right? The moment they come into teenage, they want to rebel. They want to rebel against authority. They want to question your values. Right? It's a mind that's beginning to develop. It's beginning to become an adult. You cannot treat a teenager like how you treat a child. So with a teenager, you got to negotiate with them. You got to say, how do we tackle this problem? Right? This is my concern. How do you want to address this concern? I'm seeing that, when you're spending so much of screen time using for consumption, you are not eating properly and your health is going down. How do you want to address this? My concern is your health. Right? Focus on the concerns rather than just the behavior. Then you'll be able to address the situations. A child who feels understood is far more likely to cooperate than a child who feels controlled. That's the key between control and connection. Right? When you try to control, there's going to be no cooperation from the child. And once they become teenagers, they're not even going to be afraid of you. At least a younger child is somewhere afraid of the mom and dad saying, oh, mom and dad, they'll throw me out of the house. They said they'll throw me out of the house if I do this. They'll be afraid. Right? A teenager is not afraid. If you tell a teenager, I'll throw you out of the house, he says, okay, I'll go and live with my friend. Right? So we need to understand that, we cannot threaten children with consequences if you're not willing to take out those consequences. Don't threaten children with consequences if you're not willing to implement those consequences. Because the child will see through that. Once you said, I'll throw you out of the house if you do this, and you didn't throw him out of the house. He says, bolte rehte hain. Papa aisa bolte rehte hain, kuch nahi karte. Right? So it kind of becomes that he's just an empty threat. So don't threaten children with things that you're not willing to implement. Here is the family digital agreement that I want you to think of. It has got to be done with a neutral meeting. All the family members, if 3 of you are there, 4 of you are there, 5 of you are there, including your grandmom, granddad, whatever, as much as possible. I'm not really saying that grandmothers and grandfathers are going to be cooperative, right? Let's leave them out of the picture. right? Otherwise, we'll get sandwiched between them and our children, and we don't know what to do with it. They will tell us something, we'll tell, hey, beta, de do phone, kya ho gaya? They will not understand what we are trying to do. So if we leave the older generation out of it, the meeting can be between the parents and the kids. Or if there's somebody else staying with them, that also, right? It's got to be with a, let us meet and talk about it. So what are you going to do? You're going to draw the boundaries. Set clear boundaries for time, place, and content to be used. Right? This is the amount of time you can use. These are the places in the home you can use. These are the places you cannot use. You cannot take the phone to the toilet. You cannot take the phone when you're eating. You cannot take the phone to the bed. So there are no phone zones inside the house. And we are going to be focusing on the usage, content, how much of time you're going to use for creation, how much of time for consumption, how much of time for different parts of it. And then includes the promise from the parents. The agreement is not for the kids. It's an agreement between the parent and the kid. I will also be doing this. I will not bring the phone to the dining table. I will not carry the phone into my bed. I will not carry the phone into my toilet. Whatever the rules are there for the children, the same rules apply for the parents with some exceptions because the parents need the phone for work. Right? Many of the phones today are needed for work. So there I'm using it. I'm not using it for watching reels. Right? So can we have the parents' promise also? And then the promise from the children, right? They promise that I will also not use the phone. So there's got to be a promise from the kids. There's got to be a promise from the children. This is what we're going to do. And what are the violations? If the consequences for violations has to be there. If somebody violates this, what are we going to do? And this agreement, although it might sound a bit awkward, believe me, if you can put it in writing, it has got more value. We all love the written word, right? If some place says no parking, how many people will not park there? Somebody comes and says, hey, don't park here. Nobody will listen to that. But suppose there's a board saying no parking, fine 1,000 rupees. Are yahan pe likha hua hai, let us not do that. Right? Why do hospitals have silence boards? That if you don't have, somebody comes and says, don't talk here, nobody is going to listen. But the moment you say something written there, we all follow that. We all follow written word more than oral instructions. So digital agreement has to be written and signed by all of them, right? We can say there's no dispute about it. Otherwise, that's not what I said. That's not what you said, right? All these interpretations will go on. The moment is written, it is solid. How many times in argument we say that, where is it written? Where is it written that I should do like that? Right? The moment we say here it is written like this, we say, oh, that is solid. Right? Otherwise, even adults ask that question, isn't it? Oh, where is it written that we should do that? The moment you say it is written in this book, then that is pakka. So the digital agreement has to be written and signed by all the people. I will share a copy of the digital agreement that is there, so you can take a look at it and say, is this how you want? Modify it according to your situations. But always anything, modify things according to your home, your culture, right? What you do, what's convenient for you, and what do you want from the child. Right? Address the concerns of children. They don't go just by screen time, screen logic kind of thing. Does it make sense? Okay, that brings the session that I wanted to talk to you about screen usage and screen time. So if there are any questions or any commentary or any, yeah, Dr. Aparna, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to share a few things here. Recently, I went on a trip and there I saw, like, when we were talking about controlling and connection for the screen time, there was this couple traveling with us and they had a child of around 11 years of age. And they was constantly like saying no for the phone. Like it was quite a long travel, like around 8 to 10 hours travel. And it was constantly like, nahi dekhna, nahi dekhna, nahi dekhna. And then because the child was sitting just next to me, I could hear what he was mumbling. And he just said, ठीक है, जब ये सो जाएंगे तब तो मैं देख ही लूंगा.
Yeah.
And then the parents said that we've put a code. So he said, I know what your code is. You keep changing it. I know all the codes that you put in. So the kids are also very smart. And I believe that, like the thing that you said about connection, it is very true that until and unless we explain the child and we have that connection with the child, there's no point controlling, because the child especially those preteens and teens, they will always rebel. They have a tendency that yes, mere mummy papa to galat hi keh rahe hain.
Yeah.
So then you have to do this. And the second thing I wanted to share that like my daughter, she's 3.5 years old. So like she's just started formal school and all. So she was like into phone and this thing. I've literally lowered her screen time to like 3 hours now, not more than that. But like before sleeping, she used to always see the phone. And I realized that used to have that dopamine effect. And the sleeping took very long for her then, because then like she used to be activated playing and everything. And then when I reduced the screen time, I told her, no, we'll read a story book before sleeping instead of watching the phone and all. And I bought like picturesque pop-up books for her and everything. And now we started doing that. It is easier for her to go to sleep also. Her
100%.
imagination has increased.
100%.
And then the thing you said, that you have to put the end. So my daughter always says that, Mama, whenever you finish the story, please say the end so that the story ends. So now now you've told us that for the mobile also we can say that. So that's such a nice point that just stuck with me, that for the mobile also we can say to each other that like it's the end.
Yeah.
Now stop the mobile.
Yeah.
So thank you. So it was a very wonderful session, extremely informative, very practical, and just loved the session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Aparna. And what Dr. Aparna says, about control and connection, I want you to understand that control doesn't work in the long run. Right? Younger children, yes, control will work. But as the children grow older, especially the moment they come into teens, they begin to question our authority. They begin to question us. They become fearless. That fear that was there as parents, that fear will no longer be there. And in a way, if you look at it, we are also more friendlier as a parent than our own parents were. Right? I mean, this generation is more friendlier with all their own kids now than if you look at the earlier generation parents. In my generation parents and all, you did not even talk to your parents so much. Like, and maybe we could talk to our mom a lot, but the moment dad is there, we would go only to show the report card to him or asking for the fees. Right? Anything else will not do anything. And if in one room we are grumbling with our mom and saying, oh, I want this, something, we are crying. And dad has to shout from that room saying, what does he want? Nothing. I want nothing. It becomes like that. Right? So this generation, we are also more friendlier with our kids. Our attitude has become like, let's talk, let's do whatever we want. We're also willing to kind of explore. The world has changed a lot. So do we change? We can't be like our parents anymore. Our parents can very proudly say, oh, we raised you greatly. Now, yeah, you did not have all these problems on mobile phone, not when you're raising this generation kids. So there's going to be a lot of problems for the new generation. It's going to be tougher and tougher not to be a parent in the next decade or so. So let us also empathize with the parents, saying that, they are trying to do a job for which they are not equipped. Parenting, believe me, is not a natural skill.
Exactly, sir. I agree, sir. I
Not
totally
in this
agree.
era. Not in this era. No, parenting is just not a natural kid. It was a natural thing. For the last 200 generations, it was a natural thing. For the last 2 generations, it has not at all been a natural thing, because the world has changed so much that we don't really know how to cope with this. So let's also be empathetic to the parents. They're trying to do the best job. But with growing children, try to be more cooperative with them, understand them, and say, look, this is my concern. So tomorrow, if your health is spoiled, I will be running around the hospital and all. So I don't want to do that. And I don't want your health to be spoiled. So talk to them about the concerns and bring them on board. That's the best way to handle teenage children, not through control part of it.
Agreed, sir.
A lot of hearts for sir, lot of hearts for sir. Please, all of you, those who are here. At one point, we had 70 parents. So much. I'm so grateful and thankful to all of you here. Please, many, many hearts for sir. Just to tell thank you from all of us for lovely sessions, everything. Dr. Aparna already mentioned, very practical, very everyday do things, the self-assessment and everything. If you have questions, we are here. Because people were leaving, I thought I will just ask those who are here to just send some hearts for sir, and very, very good wishes and good vibes and blessings from all of us, sir. Beautiful sessions and lovely interaction also by each and everyone. Some people on the camera all the time, Amita, Renu ma'am, and lovely interaction by each one of you.
I had
Yeah.
questions, but sir answered it so well.
Already.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
many questions are already answered. We
Thank you
have the
so
path.
much. Yeah.
We already have a path. The action is needed.
And one more thing I wanted to say just now, Aparna said like, sharing books and all. I did that with my son till 5 years of age. We would read books, and even if you flip off some pages, he would say, you missed that page, you didn't repeat. So every day we would read, but the same boy is now a little bit towards the screen. So we need to, as parents, we need to have consistency with the kids of keeping the rules like boundaries going on. And I request all the parents to play board games with them.
Yeah.
I did that even last year when my child was 15 years. We played carom board, and I saw suddenly all the people in the house started getting connected. It
Absolutely.
was, yeah, we need to keep, as parents, we need to keep the consistency.
Absolutely. Playing a board game is a ritual, and rituals connect one person to another. And just to bring one more point of Dr. Aparna said, about sleep time, I want to say that, our when we want to fall asleep, our mind should not be excited. Right? It's important, that we should not be excited. Suppose you see something very exciting, or you're running a thought itself, which is very exciting for you. It could be a thing that you're building up a scenario, fantasy in your head. When your mind gets excited, it takes a long time for it to come down to normal base. That's the reason why you can't fall asleep now if your mind is excited about a positive thing or a negative thing. Right? Whether your mind is excited about a positive thing or a negative thing, it can't go back to sleep because it takes at least 1.5 hours for that elevated level of mind to come down to normal levels. So preferably, that's why I say switch off the phones for 2 hours before the thing. Right? Sit and talk, read a book, do something else, go for a walk, whatever else you want to do, calm your mind before going to sleep. You'll have an excellent sleep. And sleeping is a key to your health as much as food is your key to your health.
So one question I had,
Yes, ma'am.
like you mentioned that we should not get the child's brain very active just before he goes to bed. So in that case, reading a book out to a child, or the child reading the book himself with lots of colorful pictures and images, which again will play around in his brain. So what do you think is a good approach, to read a book out to a child or read it
Yeah,
out yourself?
no, read it out. Reading it out for him is a good thing because one, he's listening to you, another, he's part of his, like Amita said, the part of the imagination is running in that part of it. But we also need to know that there's an end to that. Right? Like Amita said, no, there's an end to that book, there's an end to that story. Until that rabbit is rescued by the others, that story doesn't end. He also knows the
True.
end, we also know the end. But you have to come to that end for him to feel, now the story is over. Right? Children are like that. They know exactly where the end is. But until that come to that end, that excitement is there. But you read it to them and then you leave it out for them. That stimulation is drastically reduced rather than screen time. Screen time, the visual stimulation and the blue light, it affects us a lot. So reading a book,
True.
again, as the child grows older, I also want to point out that Kindle is not like other screens. Right? Kindle is a front
Absolutely.
lit screen. It's not a backlit screen. Right? It's like a book.
Mhm.
There's a book and then there's a light coming from above the thing that has been printed. So Kindle is like a book. That's why Kindle reading doesn't harm your eyes, whereas phones harm your eyes. Please understand the difference. So if your child is growing older, present him a Kindle and say you can read on Kindle whatever you want to do. Right? That's a healthier way than reading on a phone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any more questions? There is something in the chat box which and also please, feedback form is here. Please fill the feedback form. This helps us improve and bring more and more experts to you. So Nilofer, do you want to unmute and talk? Because and also Shailaja. Nilofer is talking about her daughter, that she is interested in arts, but she's like experience matters, not grades. But how can I make her understand that both are equally important?
Well, we'll need to understand, what does the child look to become? How old is the child? What does she need to become? If she's somebody who's interested, I mean, there are many children who are not suited for uh, academic rigors, if I can say that. They want to become something that is not related to directly academics. So can we say that, okay, you can do whatever you want after a certain grade, right? After a certain grade, even if you want to pursue art, you still need to finish your 10th grade. So get these minimum marks that you need to finish your 10th grade, and then you can go maybe into, you want to go to art or want to go to music and all you can do, but you need this much basic. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to have a high performance in your academics. So if we recognize our children are not academically brilliant, can we say set a bar for them saying that you need to clear this much when you want to go to the next level? Otherwise, you can't even go to the next level. Yeah, Gauri.
Sir, so thank you for the session. Now, what if the child is already addicted, and how to build the connection? Because if the adolescent child is not ready to come to even express or share whatever it is, so how do we build the connection in that case?
Yeah, see, basically, again, if the child is become a teenager, we try to see what is the cooperative level we can get to them. But if any of you feel that my child is become too addicted and I am not able to control any part of it, if you are staying in Bangalore, NIMHANS has got a technology addiction de-addiction center. Right, NIMHANS is the National Institute of Mental Health and Sciences in Bangalore, one of the premier organizations for mental health. So they have got a de-addiction center for technology de-addiction. Right, you can do that, and NIMHANS also conducts a workshop on technology de-addiction for parents also. You can attend that, or you can even take your child for the de-addiction center for doing that if it becomes extreme. Like I said right in the beginning, in Rajasthan and Gujarat, people are hiring bouncers to monitor their child 24/7. Like, we don't have to reach that level, can we do something before that? Shut clinic, yeah, doctor, in the shut clinic. That's the
Yes,
one.
sir, but I had suggested this to one of my callers. Yes, I had suggested shut clinic.
Yeah.
But then she said it's from NIMHANS, so I don't want to take my child there. There will be so many other people and all. Much as I explained, it was not. She was not ready to take it.
Yeah, that's all we can do, isn't it? We can point out the path to others. It's for
Yeah.
them to walk on that. We can't walk on the path for them. Right? We can only shine light on the path and say, look, this is the path. You follow this path, fine. If you don't follow this path, you bear the consequences of it.
Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you, Gauri. Thank you, everyone. So people, no more running for phone call, if phone bell is ringing, no more running, no more bhaji getting burned. Put an end to this endless, bottomless doom scrolling is the message, and it's time for action now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir, for your time and your wisdom, and answering each and every person here to the satisfaction that they are like super happy. You can see all the emojis here. Thank you so much.